Welcome to this online tutorial where I'll be showing you how to create this incredible hanging meringue wreath. The first thing we want to do is to get our sugar syrup on the go. So I do this by placing water and caster sugar into a pan, giving it a very gentle mix, being careful not to get any sugar up the sides of the saucepan. If that happens, I just brush a little bit of clean water around the sides to prevent my syrup from crystallizing. We are making an Italian meringue to make this wreath because it has to be very strong to hold up its weight whilst it's hanging. So we can't make a French meringue or any other meringue. We have to make an Italian meringue, which is actually really simple to do if you follow a few steps. All of the measurements in the recipe for Italian meringue are linked in my description box, and it's totally free for you to download. Now the final temperature we want to bring the sugar syrup to is 238 Fahrenheit or 114 degrees Celsius. So just before it reaches that temperature, that's when you want to get your meringue on. So start whipping your egg whites, add a little bit of cream of tartar in there and bring it up to a very high speed and get it whipping. So when your sugar syrup is approximately 105 degrees Celsius or 210 Fahrenheit, that's when you want to start whisking your egg whites with your cream of tartar. You want to time it so that your sugar syrup's at the right temperature when your meringue is at approximately a soft peak. This is what it'll look like when it is at a soft peak. So at this stage you want to keep on whipping at a medium to high speed. So your sugar syrup should have reached 238 Fahrenheit or 114 degrees Celsius, and take it off the heat, and this is when you want to very gradually trickle it into your meringue whilst it is still whisking. So leave the eggs to keep on whisking on medium to high speed and gradually pour in a continuous trickle of sugar syrup into the egg whites. Be careful because this is very, very hot. Be careful not to add your sugar syrup too quickly, otherwise you won't get a stable glossy meringue. Now you want to keep on whipping your meringue on about a medium speed, and you want to keep on doing this until the meringue cools down to room temperature. You can tell whether it's cool or hot by quickly touching the bowl, and it's ready when you can touch the bowl without it feeling too hot for your hands. Italian meringue is the most stable meringue that you can make, so it's perfect for making decorations, meringue pops, or meringue kisses. Once your meringue is ready, you actually want to work quite quickly with it and get it piped onto your trays. But first I'm going to quickly incorporate some color into my meringue, and I do this by gently mixing some gel colors into it. Try and use a folding motion so you don't knock out too much air from your meringue. The next thing we want to do is to create a template for our wreath. I do this by placing a medium-sized plate on top of my baking paper and tracing around it. You can then use a ramekin or a small cookie cutter for the center of the wreath. Spray a little bit of cooking oil onto your tray to prevent your baking paper from moving around. So I'm going to pipe my pink meringue on using a 2D nozzle. I'll list all of the nozzles down in my description box below. Now I just want to pipe rosettes or swells all around my template. These can be larger, and later I'll do some smaller ones in and around. So you basically want to have them spaced all around the template and leave some gaps in between as well, because we're going to fill that with other colors. Now I'm going to pipe some aqua or turquoise colored meringue, which I colored earlier, and I'm going to use a 10mm round nozzle, and I'm basically just pressing down and piping dots or big blobs all around. It's a very technical term there, in and around the pink rosettes. Again, we want to leave a little bit of space in between because we're going to go in with another color. Now the next color that we're going to go in with is a purple meringue, and I'm going to use a 1M nozzle for this. So this is like a star nozzle, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the aqua colored meringue. The difference is in the shape of the nozzle. It's going to give me pretty little stars all around. And so I'm just going to go in between the gaps that have been left after piping the pink and the turquoise. So now is when you want to start filling out the gaps and connecting all the different parts of meringue together. We don't want to have holes in our wreath. The last color we're going to pipe on is a hot pink color, and we're using a smaller star nozzle. So I'm using a 22 2 open star nozzle here, and this is really just to embellish and finish off our wreath with a pop of color and also fill out any other tiny little holes in between all of the other shapes that we've piped on. When you've finished all of your piping, you want to bake this for 5 hours at 175 Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius. Once it's baked, you want to leave it to cool completely, and once it's cool, you want to use a skewer and gently poke 2 holes next to each other somewhere on top of the wreath. You want to be very gentle when you do this because you do not want to crack or shatter your wreath. Next, use a piece of floral wire, a thinner one will work better. Fold it in half and then use it to thread through a piece of ribbon through the first hole that you made in your wreath. So we're going to slowly use it just like you would a needle and thread through your ribbon. You want to thread it through so that you can bring out the front, and then you want to thread the other end exactly the same way through the other hole made in your meringue wreath. If your ribbon's not going through quite well, then you might need to make the hole a little bit bigger, and also want to make sure that the ribbon that you're using is quite a thin ribbon. Now that you've got 2 ends of the ribbon coming out the front of the wreath, you want to pull this so that you've got a nice little loop happening towards the top of the wreath. This is what's going to hold your entire wreath up on a wall or a hook. Now with the remaining ribbon, you want to tie a double knot, so a dead knot essentially. So this is secure, and you can either just leave it this way, but I like to tie a bow just to finish it off. So you want to be very careful and gentle throughout this entire process because you do not want to damage the wonderful wreath that you've been working so hard on. So once I've got a lovely bow, I'm going to snip off the ends. You can do it as long as short as you like, and now it's actually ready for hanging. One last little bit I like to do is to add some huge sprinkles or dragées to my meringue wreath. You can use royal icing or melted chocolate to apply your sprinkles onto your wreath. Now I did consider the possibility of adding my sprinkles on before baking, as that would have been much easier, but I was worried that some of the large sprinkles that I got might crack or be damaged somehow in the oven, so that's why I've added it on after. Feel free to add as little or as many as you like, and once you've finished adding all of your sprinkles, that's it. Your meringue wreath is done. It's ready for hanging. This will be such a huge surprise for your guests to see and to enjoy for dessert with a little bit of fresh cream and fruit for an incredible smashed pavlova. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, I'd love if you hit like and drop me a comment below. Remember that all recipes and links are in the description box. To stay up to date with all new Sugar Cakes videos and tutorials, hit that subscribe button and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you're not missing out on any new content. Catch you guys later.